Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butts, get big or get out.
You know, it's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize like, wow, like this piece of legislation, all this money, like it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Today's program is proudly brought to you by Whole Foods Market. Visit WholeFoodsMarket.com or download the Whole Foods Market app to learn more and find the store nearest to you.
Hey, thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network. This is Katie, HRN Executive Director, and I'm so excited to share with you our coverage from the Charleston Wine and Food Festival.
We are here live today at Charleston Wine and Food.
Join us as we talk all things food.
Come to Charleston, eat some seafood. Eat all of the seafood.
Chicken fried chicken with chorizo steak and salsa verde mashed potatoes.
So quintessentially like Southern fare at its finest.
And have important conversations.
We're also talking about professional women in restaurants and how underrepresented they are, people of color in restaurants, and how they're not talked about.
We get real with Food Network's Manit Chauhan.
Balance is BS. I was told that I wasn't going to be bleeped out.
And find out about raising sugarcane with Chef Sean Brock.
It's like being Indiana Jones or something. You never know what you're going to find.
You'll come away inspired by the power of food and the food scene in Charleston. Here's Dr. Jessica B. Harris.
Food is constantly in flux. Food is always moving. Food is the only real lingua franca that we have that allows us to connect with other folks.
So tune in to Heritage Radio Network on tour at heritageradionetwork.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can't go wrong.
Oh, I like the way you do. Whoa, the way you took it so slow.
Hey, you're listening to Eat Your Words on Heritage Radio Network. It's a gorgeous Sunday in spring here in Brooklyn, and this is the time of the year that you might switch over to rosé or beer instead of more hard liquor cocktails. But I have a book right now that will definitely convince you otherwise, full of fresh flavors, juices, spices, more things, herbs that you didn't even think of putting in cocktails. And it is called One Bottle Cocktails. More than 80 recipes with fresh ingredients and a single spirit. Super easy stuff. And it's by none other than Maggie Hoffman, who's on the line right now from San Francisco. Hi, Maggie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, congrats on this book. You are the drinks guru. You started the drink section of Serious Eats back in 2011. You've been an editor there. You had been an editor there for a long time. And now you write about beverages for wine enthusiasts, San Francisco Chronicle, Saveur, Food and Wine, and many others. So this is your thing, booze. This is your first book, fittingly.
Yeah.
So you've ridden sort of the wave of a cocktail, or classic cocktail, I should say, movement or revival. So tell us a little bit about, what's changed since you first started writing about drinks and today. Are people just more into them? Or are people more educated? Or
Yes, I think they are both more educated and more excited, but also more tired. I think when this all first started getting really exciting, those first bars were serving the best version of classic cocktails ever and digging up classics that had disappeared, and that was so exciting. And there are still bars that focus on that. But nowadays, there are great cocktails everywhere. There are great cocktails in restaurants, and there are great cocktails in bars in every city. And if you're a person who wants to make a drink at home, you might ask, oh, how can I make this one at home?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is usually like 50 things. You're finding this special liqueur, and there's this special vermouth, and we made this special infusion, and there's these tinctures and these bitters. And pretty soon, when you're talking about recreating a drink from a bar, you might have spent $100 on the ingredients.
Right.
And that, I think over the years, I've found that my readers are really sensitive to that, and I'm really sensitive to that. That, if you want to make a drink at home, there's only so much investment that makes sense.
Right. And because, bars, mixologists have different, aims. They're making so many drinks. They have all these elixirs lined up, and, it's totally different than...
Right, and they have the benefit that they're making that drink 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
So they can add some, guava liqueur. But if you're at home, it might make more sense to pick up guava nectar that, is available. That's actually pretty high quality these days, and then mix that up with, carrot juice and something else and get this really beautiful, fresh, bright cocktail with fresh lime juice, where it doesn't make sense for you to buy a $35 bottle of guava liqueur.
Right. So let's talk about some of the essentials. What, if anything, does a person need to have in their liquor cabinet?
I love a cute bar cart. I'm totally into that, or a bar cabinet. But the truth is, I don't think people should go out and buy 12 bottles. I think that the answer is to find a drink you want to make and get the supplies for that drink. And if you're starting with the one bottle cocktail, you can make, in each chapter, there's 8 or 10 drinks that use just one spirit. So if you're going to make gin drinks, you can start on the first page of the gin chapter and make this drink with strawberries that has black pepper and a teaspoon of Greek yogurt, which is really bright and tart and not thick at all. It's just really
I'm
fresh.
on that page right now.
And
Slippery when wet.
You can make...
Okay, yeah. Is it slippery when wet? That's a cocktail?
Yeah.
Cool.
The slippery when wet is that it's really fun with a little bit of Greek yogurt, and that's from Shannon Tebay Sidle, who's this great New York bartender. And then you can make a drink with tarragon and green grapes, and then you can make a drink with fresh blueberries, and you can make a drink with fennel and arugula, and that you're just getting started. And so investing in a whole bunch of stuff doesn't make sense if you love gin, here are 10 drinks.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the end of the chapter, there are more drinks, or you can take the main spirit from one of the other drinks in the book and swap it out for gin. So you should get to the bottom of that bottle of gin pretty quickly.
So maybe what I should have in my pantry is a juicer that I can make my...
A juicer comes in handy, though. Okay. I usually just use one of those squeeze... what are they called? A hand juicer, which those cost about $20.
Yeah. Cool.
And, I think the other ingredients that come up really often in this book are tea, different kinds of tea, like white tea and green tea and Earl Grey tea, and that's really handy. And then things like honey and different kinds of sugar, like turbinado sugar, which is like sugar in the raw, or demerara sugar, which is this really rich, flavorful sugar. Those come in handy.
And pepper and things that you might already have but never thought to put in your cocktails.
The idea of this book was that maybe you're going to have to go on a grocery run, but most people have to go on a grocery run once a week or so anyway.
Right. And you use, a little bit of fresh jalapeno maybe, or there's even one with like fresh green pepper, and then you have those ingredients to make, in your tacos or something. Anyway,
exactly, your salad, totally.
I'm seeing more and more vegetables in this book. I never thought I'd see that before in cocktails, but there's stuff like the peppers I mentioned. All what was it? The other one that was.
There's a green bell pepper one. Mm-hmm. There's a red bell pepper one. There's a drink with celery.
Arugula.
There's fennel and arugula. Yeah, so the bartenders who contributed recipes to this book got really creative thinking about how to make drinks that had all of the essential characteristics of a modern contemporary cocktail.
So bitter.
So it's not just spiked juice. So yeah, they're thinking about how do you balance sweetness with savoriness? How do you balance the bitter character, with sweetness? And so a lot of vegetables came in, and they're so great for adding that sort of mysterious, complex flavor that's, delightful.
There's so many more cocktails I want to talk about in this because, as you mentioned, you went around the country to talk to and, feature all these great mixologists and awesome bars drinks. But let's cut to a quick little commercial interlude, and we'll be right back chatting more.
Today's program is brought to you by Whole Foods Market. From papayas and samosas to reishi mushrooms, if it's something that sounds delicious, chances are you'll find the freshest, best version of it at Whole Foods Market. They have more than 400 stores across the country, so if you consider pizza its own food group or just can't imagine when avocado toast wasn't a thing, Whole Foods Market has you covered. Visit WholeFoodsMarket.com to find a store near you. Whole Foods Market. Whatever makes you whole.
All right, we're back chatting with Maggie Hoffman. She is the author of One Bottle Cocktails, just coming out right now from 10 Speed. And so this book is actually a compilation of all these different contributors who are mixologists or bartenders, and their awesome recipes. So was this like sort of best of? How did you curate this list or this collection?
I had met so many amazing bartenders working for Serious Eats and writing about cocktails for different websites. And so a lot of them I just sort of started talking to. And pretty soon I realized that a lot of bartenders aren't sitting around on a computer all day. They're not answering their emails. So when I got excited about a bar, I'd contact that bartender often on Facebook and say, this is the project that I'm working on. And sometimes they would get really excited. And sometimes they'd say sort of, screw you, those aren't real cocktails. The ones who got really excited would often then send me Facebook messages from the grocery store and say, hey, what do you think about radicchio? Or what do you think about making a drink with almond milk? And so that was a really fun way to collaborate. And these people were so generous with their time. This book obviously couldn't have happened without them, and they came up with wonderful things. So I contacted probably about 1,000 bartenders and ended up testing about 300 recipes. And then these were the ones that were just so exciting, so interesting. And some of them, they're a little bit DIY, and some of them are super simple. But they're all just really fabulous flavors. So that is how 300 got cut to 83. And then they all went in the book.
Amazing. And no doubt, like, you've traveled to many of these places too, writing for publications. Plenty are in San Francisco. And you had to recipe test these 80 or so and then more that were cut. So I'm wondering, how do you stay sober and sane?
Add in that I also have a young child. So in fact, it's the balancing and planning ahead that I would need to plan my meals and my drink testing in advance and sort of know, like, okay, this is the plan for the week. I'm going to get all of these ingredients at once. This is going to be our easy night. This is going to be, I'm going to cook this and eat it for 2 days or whatever it is. I think all of that is all put together. And, maybe this is less true for men, or maybe you can't make that generalization. But since I'm working at home and I am the primary cook in our family, I feel like I sort of have to combine all of my work and all of the things that I'm doing for our family sort of into one big 8-hour day.
I know. When you said that, I'm just like, cocktails at dinner table every night. I'm just kidding, but that's
we
quite
will often. I do think that the cocktail hour is something that is really lovely to reclaim when you have young children. And so in our house, it's often that I have prepped something that I know I'm going to write about, and then, you know, if my husband gets home, we can share a drink together and, you know, have dinner together, and that just sort of like is a wonderful, calm moment for the rest of the day. Usually when I'm testing cocktails in the morning or whatever, I spit just like wine reviewers spit.
Okay. Because I know that, excuse me, there's a lot of, you know, photo shoots that happen during the day. All these cocktails are probably sitting around in ice. What do you do with that?
It's just like, you know, if you work in an ice cream shop, pretty soon you don't want to eat ice cream.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that. I will often, at a restaurant, order a beer if I'm not working on a beer story. Right now I'm writing a bunch of wine stories for Sunset Magazine, so I'm tasting a lot of wine during the day. The end of the day, like, a Pilsner sounds great.
That's so funny. Or milk, maybe. Water.
Yeah.
I love this. I love one of the unexpected recipes that I think sounds really good that you incorporate is apple butter. You're right. It's a great shortcut to like a more intensely flavored or robustly flavored drink because, you know, that concentrate really goes a long way. It's called Newton's Law. Tell me about this drink. It's from Zach Lynch, bar manager of the Ice Plant in St. Augustine, Florida.
Well, it's just really clever to think about how are you going to pack like really robust flavors into a drink that doesn't have a liqueur. And so he uses brown sugar, dark brown sugar, and makes a quick simple syrup, which is, you know, just if you can make tea, you can make simple syrup. But this one, you're really just dissolving the brown sugar into hot water. And then you add bourbon and fresh lemon and apple butter, and you shake it up so that the apple butter really gets emulsified. And then that's all. It just has an orange twist and a little cinnamon on top, and it's super delicious. Perfect for fall.
I can totally see how that would taste like a lot of bourbon cocktails that have all these intricate liqueurs, but in a really simple way and healthful way. Is part of your goal in this book to be sort of a little bit more healthy, given all these fresh fruits? You're laughing.
I mean, cocktails are not good for you.
Yeah.
But, you know, I do feel like it's one of the benefits of making drinks at home is that you have all these fresh ingredients. You know, at a bar, like they're going to, if they had to order all that produce, it'd be a little more complicated. So I think it's just a way that you actually have an advantage when you're at home.
Okay, I'm going to do a sort of a fast quiz style, get the expert's opinion on what drink to make for what occasion. Picnic, where you can have to bring like a big jug of, you know, a cocktail that's already mixed up.
My favorite is the Passport to Chile, which is a big pitcher, and it has fresh grapefruit juice and lime juice and honey. And then it was designed to be made with pisco, which is lovely floral. It's a type of grape brandy that's made in Peru and Chile. But you can also sub tequila if you can't find.
Love it. So tequila and fresh flavors. Love it. What's that called again?
That's the Passport to Chile.
I love the names. Sorry. They're so much fun. Okay. So another occasion. Baby shower, where you have to make one batch that's non-alcoholic and one batch that is.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. You know, I'm working on a second book now. I'm not sure if I told you this.
Yay, congrats.
That is all drinks to make in pitchers.
Oh, fun.
Because I think that is an occasion that comes up really often that you don't want to shake drinks to order.
I've done that, yeah.
And in fact, it has a really large non-alcoholic chapter.
Oh, cool.
So that's coming next year.
Something to look forward to.
There are a bunch of punches, and Many of them would probably work non-alcoholic. I haven't tested them all non-alcoholic, but one that is definitely a winner is the bourbon and black, which is Lynette Marrero, who's one of the founders of Speed Rack, which is this great bartending competition for women that raises money for breast cancer research.
Awesome.
She sent in a drink where you make a blackberry shrub. So blackberry is preserved in vinegar. It's really delicious and complex in flavor. So she makes this blackberry shrub, and it has a little bit of honey in it. It's really tart. And then she sweetens the drink with honey. And normally you would thin honey out with hot water just so that it can stir well into the punch. And so instead of just using hot water, she puts either lavender tea or just dried lavender, which you can get in the spice aisle, just like when you're buying baking spices.
Yeah.
So she makes the lavender tea, and that's what is loosening the honey.
Cool.
So you could batch that part and combine it with club soda, and that's your non-alcoholic version. And then for the alcoholic version, it's great with bourbon, and it also works really well with aged rum.
Blackberry, lavender, and bourbon. Sounds perfect for, if it's it's a boy, because it'll be bluish colored, maybe. I don't know. Okay, that was really corny.
Sort of purple.
Or purple, so it's both.
But it's nice because it's not too sweet, and has that little floral element, but it's not over the top.
That sounds really yummy. Okay, one last quiz question. Beach weekend, say you're eating lobsters and clams and seafood galore.
That sounds fun. Can I do that?
Yes. Summer's coming up, right? It's going to happen.
Yeah. So one of my favorites is so easy that it doesn't even make sense to make a picture because you just make it in the glass.
Cool.
It's a drink from Souther Teague, who's the beverage director at Amoria Margot in New York. And he's known for making sort of amazing, bitter, complicated drinks. They actually don't use citrus at their bar.
Wow.
But for me, he sent over this great recipe where you just take a Collins glass and you add tequila and aloe vera juice, which you can buy at Whole Foods or anywhere like that. And I love the brand Aloe Exposed, which is sweetened with honey. But I've used a bunch of different brands, and in fact, we've made this just in that vacation situation. So you pour in aloe vera and tequila into a Collins glass, and then you add lime juice, and you take the squeezed lime shell and you put that in your glass. And what that does is it adds sort of the complex, the oils from the peel of the lime add a little bit of bitterness to counter the sweetness of the aloe vera. So you just stir that all together, and you add club soda and ice, and it's so refreshing.
Nice. That's a really good compliment, sounds like. And for those who weren't taking notes, though, I really hope that you get your hands on this book. It's a delightfully simple look at cocktails, and it's super refreshing. So that's about all the time we have for today, but thank you so much, Maggie, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Thanks, everyone at Heritage. We'll see you next week on Earwords.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content and to hear about exclusive events, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at heritage_radio. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be a part of the food world's most innovative community? Rate the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join our community by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.